Our youngest daughter, Isabella Maria, who we call Bella, is a very special girl who needs a lot of care. When she was born, we knew something was wrong, but we didn't know what it was. And it wasn't until 5 days later that they came back and told Karen and me that she had a disorder called trisomy 18.
I'll wager most of you have never heard of trisomy 18 before. It's not the name of a sci-fi motion picture or some new gadget everyone has to own. It's a killer, a rare genetic disorder where those born with it have about a 90% chance of dying in their first year of life. We have reached a point where more of these kids are surviving each and every day, but not without a lot of medical care and a whole lot of love. Our guests were faced with losing their daughter several years ago due to this condition, yet that little girl is soon to turn 7 years of age and fighting every day for her life. The parents have detailed their journey in the new book, Bella's Gift, How One Little Girl Transformed Our Family and Inspired a Nation. You may recognize the father as someone who also just happens to be in politics. Former United States Senator from Pennsylvania and perhaps candidate for the 2016 presidential nomination, welcome Rick Santorum and his wife, Karen. We thank you both for joining us today.
Thank you. It's great to be on.
Thank you. So good to be on.
First question that we have to ask, how's Bella?
Bella's doing great. And Bella was a little girl who was given no hope at birth. We were told she would live maybe a day, 3 at most, a month it would be a miracle. And I'm so happy to tell you that in 3 months we'll be celebrating her 7th birthday.
Rick, when you said in the report we had coming in here, said that you knew something was wrong, when you have that moment when either you understand something, your wife sees something, or the doctor says something to you, that moment has got to still live with you to this day, that feeling that you had. What was that?
Well, I think in both of our case, we talk about in detail in the book, both of us were suspicious. There are certain, quote, markers for this genetic anomaly. It's similar to Down syndrome. And so if you see someone who has Down syndrome, there's certain things that you see in people that you say, oh, that person probably has Down syndrome. Same thing, only it's different for trisomy 18. Down syndrome is an extra 21st chromosome. Trisomy 18, Edwards syndrome is an extra 18th chromosome. And in this case, there were a couple things we looked at and we thought, oh, man, you know, that could be it. And so it wasn't just boom, out of the blue, the doctor hit us. It was a painful 3 or 4 days where we had to come to the realization. And then the worst news was that she had trisomy 18, but was called full trisomy 18. In other words, the worst possible diagnosis.
I know that you are both people of faith, and a lot of people are certainly going to read this book and they're going to take an awful lot from it. And you talk about knowing that something was wrong at that point. Senator, Mrs. Santorum, you both know that there are ways right now in science for people to be able to screen pre-existing conditions in their unborn child, look for genetic markers, and then perhaps even manipulate, correct any anomalies, if you will. First of all, to you, Karen, is that something, if you would have known, would you have taken some steps to change things?
Oh, no, I wouldn't trade Bella for anything in the world. And I think we miss so much when we don't accept these children into our lives because they bring a lot of joy and they teach us so much. And it's a big concern because once we start deciding who can and cannot live, we're all doomed, aren't we?
Well, there are people who would say, and again, there are many people who would agree with you, but I think others would say, is it not fair to give a child absolutely every single possibility of a perfect life if you have the availability to do it through science?
You know, this is a very dangerous thing. That we're playing God, and it's everybody has some genetic abnormality. Everybody, there's something that's in cases to very, very mild to insignificant. But nobody's perfect, and the idea that we can go through and through just simply cooking something up in a petri dish or in a test tube that we can eliminate certain things is a very dangerous road to go down, and one that will certainly lead to the kind of one of my favorite movies is a movie called Gattaca, and I think that's where we end up. We end up with a very segmented society, one that tries to strive for perfection, but leads to real disability.
And I guess a lot of it comes down to also there's stem cell research and many other things that now are available as well that people can look to. Would you then disagree with that? I mean, certainly, again, people of faith and many people I've spoken to, they say absolutely stem cell research is nothing we want to get involved in because it is against the will of God. Would you also agree with that?
Well, it depends what kind of stem cell research. Most of the really productive work on stem cell research is coming from adult stem cell research. In other words, taking stem cells from yourself and using it for your therapies on you or maybe even family members. The stem cell research that has not actually panned out to be very helpful is the embryonic stem cell research that comes from aborted fetuses or other types of concoctions in the laboratory to create these human embryos. So no, I would say that we need to stick to an moral. Science is not an ethics and moral free zone. There's a reason we put limits on things, and I think that's for the best of society to do so.
I've got about a minute and a half left here, and I know that certainly when people undergo such tough things in life and they have things that happen to their families, sometimes it changes the way they think and makes them think about what they could do to make things better for people. You know I'm going to probably ask this, but should you get a chance, and if you were to be elected President of the United States, would you then use that power to create things, make things a little differently, make new laws to help these children?
Well, I think one of the frankly greatest benefits of Rick Santorum becoming president, I tried in 2012, and one of the things we thought about was just having Bella present and in front of the American public and seeing the dignity that she has as a person, not because she can do all these things, just because she is, and how her family and those who are around her love her and support her. And modeling is a very important thing, and as parents we realize that, and all of us in our business relationships, how you conduct business, how you behave, and how you act ethically. Well, the same thing is true with the president, and what you model and what you hold up to be good and proper is really important. And for us, Bella would be that model of how we need to be a more loving and welcoming society to all of God's children.
Mrs. Santorum, I only have 20 seconds left. What would you tell a parent whose child suffers from this disease?
Hang in there, things get better. It may be a challenge, but sometimes what you think may be your biggest burdens end up being your greatest gifts and blessings.
It certainly is a blessing to have a little girl like that in your life, and she is still with us and hopefully for many, many, many more years. The book, once again, is called Bella's Gift, How One Little Girl Transformed Our Family and Inspired a Nation. Karen and Rick Santorum, we want to thank you both for being with us here today. I'll look forward to speaking with you both another time and hopefully with really good news.
Thank you so much.
All right, take care, you both. After the break, the ceasefire that won't hold, the dictator who wants it all, and the publicity-seeking terrorists back at it on MidPoint.